Is it?
I actually just went through real quick to see if there was anything on replays. There is code on replays.
We're going to play these audio files right now for you guys. If you guys have not heard all of these weapons that we just talked about, the rocket launcher. What's going on, everyone? My name is Miles. Welcome back to another SquadCast podcast. This is another SquadCast podcast, episode number 3 that we've done on Apex Legends. And I'm joined by my friend QuadMFT, iLoot Games, and Sethley as usual. If you guys don't know already, all 4 of us are always on these podcasts. And so today we're going to talk about some pretty hot topics. And we're going to start off with some character buffs and balances. And a lot of you guys may have seen these surveys talking about these legends not too long ago. And so I kind of want to just jump in and see not only where you guys have to say in the comment section below of how you guys feel about this, because I think this is only over 2,000 people. So obviously there's a lot more opinions that need to be talked about and discovered on how you guys feel about this. But I also obviously want to get the opinions of all of us here on the podcast. So I want to ask Seth first off. Seth, what do you think about these legends, their buffs, their abilities, and who do you think most of all needs to be buffed?
All right, so honestly, I've been thinking about this for a really long time since I love when they change characters and it changes up the meta a lot. I mean, especially with the global series coming up, it might be good to throw some changes at all the pros just to see how they deal with it, but we do have a while until then. But mainly, I mean, ever since Krypto came out in Season 3, I have always thought that Krypto is the one that needs a buff just because all of his abilities rely on his drone, and you can just shoot it once and it's gone and it's down for a while and he can't really do anything. So if I were to say one character, I'd say probably Krypto should deserve a buff, but I don't really know how they should do it. What type of buff do you guys think Krypto should have if they were to buff him?
I was thinking for Krypto, how you said everything, all of his abilities rely on his drone. I think that being able to grab maybe 1 or 2 items, like, while you're looting with the drone would definitely be a big advantage. I mean, that's just an idea, I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty cool as well. I saw a concept for that actually on Reddit, and it definitely wouldn't be bad, especially since like he has the ability, or his drone has the ability to open up loot bins, and like what is the reason for that if he can't even carry any items away?
Yeah, even if it
Yeah.
was only 1 or 2 items, I mean, that's gonna make a world of a difference as far as a buff goes for Krypto.
Also,
Yeah,
I
it
kind
just
of
doesn't
thought
make any sense at all to me how, like, exactly like you said, why would you be able to open up doors and bins and not even be able to do anything with the drone other than pick up banner cards? That's obviously pointless. And not only like just something like an opinion of, oh, this should be changed, like that's completely useless to be able to open up a bin and not be able to do something with it. So that's something that they should obviously do. And I think that they would obviously see that as game developers to know that's not a good idea.
Yeah, and so the survey of about 2,000 people from the Apex subreddit, it seems like a lot of them did agree. 68% of the survey of the 2,000 people on the subreddit that did it said that they think Krypto does need a buff, but also 30% say that he is balanced. So, I mean, we do have to keep that into account. Some people definitely still like Krypto, but I mean, personally, I think it would be as simple as just adding more health to his drone so it takes more than one shot to destroy it. Might be a
Yeah,
good
I
change.
agree.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know, Miles, you actually pay attention to the pro scene. I'm kind of off on that pro scene, but do they even use Krypto in any scrims or pro games or anything like that? Because I never see him in ranked.
So yeah, they never use Krypto. Like hardly ever anyone ever uses Krypto, not only in the scrims but also in ranked and like Apex Predator lobbies. And so in my opinion, not only do I think he needs a buff because he's not that great, I also think he needs a buff because I think that they need to focus more on kind of like how League of Legends will drop like a legend or a champion, and then boom, like the whole meta can change just like that. And I know a lot of times some people kind of always stay in the meta, but what I want to see Apex do, I want every season when they decide to add a new legend, I want the meta to kind of like form around that new legend. And I know that might not sound like the greatest idea, but I don't see what the point is of adding a new legend if he's going to just kind of fall back on the back burner and not be the main shot, the main aspect of the new season. So Krypto, in my opinion, I know a lot of people disagree with this, but I think he was a real big letdown simply because
I definitely
he
agree with
wasn't
that one.
he wasn't put on the main screen of Apex. He wasn't put on like the main. Obviously, he was put on the actual main screen, but he wasn't put on like the main stage. Like not everyone talks about how good Krypto is and how much of a legend he is because he's not. It's still Wraith. It's still Pathfinder. And the third one kind of goes all over the place. But I just think for every new season, like for instance, season 4 comes out, I think Revenant needs to be one of the best characters. I think the meta needs to be revolved around him him, because that's what's going to bring more attention around season 4 Revenant and the legend that they associate it with. So that's what I think that they need to do. Now, I have a question for Luke, because not a lot of people use Mirage in ranked or
Had to call him out.
or I had to call him out because the Mirage main. So not a lot of people obviously use Mirage for ranked or the pro scene, but 91% of these people in the survey said that Mirage needs a buff. Now, coming from a Mirage main as iLoot Games, Mirage, we called you Mirage. Luke, what do you think needs to happen to Mirage, and do you agree with the 91% that Mirage needs a buff?
Oh, I definitely agree that he needs a buff. It's just, how do you find buffs for certain abilities? Because just adding, like they did with the big characters, where they have damage reduction, you can't just do that for every character. Mirage, what can you add to him except for maybe make his bamboozles a little more lifelike, maybe make them come out as different characters, or maybe he has multiple, or if they even
that's a
if they different characters, I think would really change it up for him, because then we all know if we see a Mirage just running in a straight line, it's probably a bamboozle.
Exactly.
But if it's a different character running in straight line, you might be confused. And maybe even having his ultimate cooldown be shorter. But besides that, I still enjoy his ultimate cooldown. If it his ultimate, if it lasted longer, it may be a lot more effective for better players to give them a consideration, because you could completely reposition.
Yeah, I think with how you said something about his bamboozle making him be able to use different characters as the bamboozle, I think that'd be pretty good. Although I think you would probably have to limit it down to just the characters that are on your squad. So let's say it's Mirage, Pathfinder, Wraith, then he has a choice to have the bamboozle be either Mirage, Pathfinder, or Wraith, rather than just any legend possible. So.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea.
Either way, I think that's a great way to go about it.
So there was also someone who went on Reddit, and the thread became very large. They claimed that they saw a Mirage shoot out multiple bamboozles, and then when they came out, they actually started acting like players. That they were going to loot boxes, they were looting, they were aiming, but they weren't shooting. And so everyone said, "Oh no, you're just confused. You're confused. You saw people teaming. That's probably what it was." But they insisted that wasn't the case, because they could see the glowing on the bamboozle ones. So I think that's what they said. That wouldn't make sense, though, because that's got to be your own team. I don't know, though. So, but can you imagine if they came out, they actually aimed, they ran with the team?
Like
that would
bots,
be completely
like
different. Yeah, like bots, exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy. And another thing I just thought of, like, back on Kings Canyon, back in the early states of the game, I used Mirage a little bit, because like when Shroud and Diego, like they were all using Mirage and claiming Mirage was the best legend in the game because of the bamboozles. And they had a good point back then, because like no matter what, people were not used to being bamboozled. People were not used to decoys. So it was like really hard to know when it's a decoy or not. And so, but like obviously over time you get used to it, you know what to expect, and it's just not as effective anymore. But I remember back on Kings Canyon seeing a Mirage ultimate pretty much like every few games. Every day I played, I would see a Mirage ultimate. I honestly cannot tell you the last time I've seen a Mirage ultimate. So I can't even tell you if it still does his ultimate still do the, like, where it sends out decoys but they just stay still, or do they at least run forward now?
No, they don't run forward unless they're down a hill.
They're still, wow. Yeah, see, I think his ultimate needs to be changed a little bit, because like I don't understand why they just, I mean, obviously if you see like 6 Mirages just standing still, you know that's like not real. So I mean, that's just, I mean, even a noob will understand that really quickly. So they need to change his ultimate.
I think the idea behind it was that you're not able to tell what direction he ran into.
Honestly,
but I still think
good for escapes.
Well, yeah, everyone knows now that you listen for the footsteps, but I think just as a visual, that was the point of the note.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, throwback to when Mirage literally was, you could completely see him when he was invisible. Like his opacity was at like 50%. And then they said it was a bug, that they fixed it, and then he was completely invisible. Oh my gosh, I was so mad when they said that.
He was pretty much useless like that, or at least his abilities were useless.
Yeah, and one thing we see more balanced now is if you look at the Gibby statistic, you guys obviously remember, I'm sure you played Apex back then. Gibby has not always been everyone's favorite character or character
Oh,
of
no.
choice.
The
Gibby was
hitbox.
he was the worst character in the game by far for a long time. And now since they've gave him his buff in season 3, I remember when season 3 first came out, now that we think about it, and I was so surprised that Gibby was the one that got the buff. I was
know.
not
The
expecting
healing,
Gibby to.
yeah.
Yeah, I
And
was very
we
surprised.
were
too.
all talking about, oh, crypto's being released, crypto's coming out. And then like what really everyone was talking about is, bro, this Gibby buff is going to be huge. Like this is going to, so that's another thing. I was like, Gibby should not be the main focus of season 3. Like, when season 3 launches, we should not be talking about Gibby's buff. We should be talking about Krypto. So season
Yeah.
4, I hope they fix that. I hope it's more about Revenant rather than say Caustic getting a buff or a nerf or Mirage.
But I definitely
getting
think
a
there
buff or
should
whatever.
be some changes to characters.
Oh,
with
for
season
sure,
4.
for sure.
That's how you keep
And the-
people interested. I mean,
Yeah,
as soon
for
as
sure.
Revenant comes out, even if it's just for the first few days, and one of his abilities, like his tactical, his ultimate, is a little bit too much, and people think it needs to be nerfed, that's going to draw people in to play the game. They want to abuse Revenant too. They want
Yeah,
to play with him for
exactly.
a couple days.
Yeah.
Even if it just draws people in, I think it would be a positive for the game to have
Yeah.
a high tier, a quality legend right when the season releases, not making him
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Krypto.
I agree. I agree. I had someone actually comment that specific thing. They literally said this. They said, "I hope Revenant is OP at the start, so I can at least have some fun in the beginning." And I was just
Right,
like,
right.
yeah,
Because no one has fun playing Krypto. And if you waited this entire
exactly,
time
exactly.
waiting for a new character and then you play them and you just get murdered or your team gets murdered because the character sucks, that's pretty disappointing because this is what we're waiting for.
Yeah, it makes you
This is
want to
what
hop
keeps us
off.
playing the
It makes you
game.
want to get off. Is if you just play the new character, you save up all your coins, and then boom, you get wrecked the first game because he sucks. I mean, come on.
Yes, that's how I was. And when Krypto came out, I was all on this like, oh, I'm gonna be the #1 Krypto. I'm gonna grind Krypto. I'm gonna be so good with Krypto. And I bought the legendary skin for him. And then my first few games, I like continuously, I'm like, what is up with this? Like, this is not fun. And then every time I would try to go do like make a big play, I would be in my drone, and then I would say, "Hold on, guys, I'm behind you. I'm coming. Like, just give me some time to catch up." And
He's
so,
so
Please slow
slow.
down.
yeah.
Well,
So
let's
that's something that's just
speaking of the needs for buffs, what about you gave a cool stat about Lifeline? You want to share that?
yeah. So Lifeline only has an 85%. I mean, it has an entire 85% people that say it's balanced, but only a 15%. I guess that had no comment. It doesn't say that she was requested on a buff on this other 15%. And that is something that is really cool because I had a statistic. This is the stat I think you're talking about, Luke, that
Yeah.
when I was checking on Dream Team earlier today, it actually showed that Lifeline on Xbox had the #1 win percentage for the last couple of weeks. I think it goes all the way back to September that she had the #1 win percentage for Xbox. And then on PC, she was like top 2 of win percentage. And then like on PS4, I think she was 3rd or something like that. But when you go to the legends that were most used, obviously it's way up there for Wraith and Pathfinder. Everyone's using Wraith and Pathfinder. So
Right.
Because they're
So
the
to
most
see-
fun, I would say. personally.
exactly, and that's exactly what we're talking about with Revenant Krypto. Like they need to be fun like Wraith and Pathfinder, and like that they're just not. But back
like-
to the stat, it's like it's crazy to see the majority of the player base using Pathfinder and Wraith, but yet somehow the win percentage is still higher with a legend that's less used. It just goes to show you how important roles actually are in Apex. A lot of people just think that
Teamwork.
it's just it. A lot of people think it's just
Exactly.
3 slayers on the ground and you just run and go and shoot and it just destroy everybody. But it actually does have its place with roles in Apex. So I think that's something cool to have.
Especially with when season 3 came out. I remember, I mean, I used to be a Lifeline main. Now I kind of switch around between Wraith, Pathfinder, and Lifeline. But
Yeah.
when they added the gold backpack and made the change to the Guardian Angel, the fact that you can res people with half health, like half shield, and that's absolutely huge with Lifeline because she's
super
also got that
strong. Yes,
shield
it
that just blocks people. So, I mean, that is definitely probably one of the main factors as to why she has such a high win rate because, I mean, getting
Yeah.
those quick reses off your teammates when they're downed and then coming back up with shield and health already is absolutely huge, especially when you're getting third partied, which we all know is extremely common in Apex Legends.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think it's cool to have that. It kind of reminds me, Miles. You always say reminds me you somewhat of League of Legends. How they have different roles like mid lane,
Exactly.
support. They have jungles. I think that's how it's actually playing out in Apex. Is Lifeline is more of a support type character, and it's clearly winning games. I mean, quite literally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree with you. So, on to the next topic. That was a huge one right there. Covered a lot of stuff with buffs and players being balanced and
Which we'll
nerfs.
definitely see some buffs and nerfs in season 4. So
Yeah, you're definitely going to see a lot of changes coming up in season 4, not only with an addition of a new legend, but you're also going to see more of what you saw in season 3 of legends being nerfed, balanced, changed, and buffed and all of the above. So moving on to the next subject, we're going to talk about solos and duos. Now, I want to admit a few weeks ago, I made a video talking about how solos and duos would probably return in the Christmas event, all because we saw a leaked file that you guys may have seen before, talking about the event 4. I believe it's event underscore 4 solos and then event underscore 4 duos, something along those lines. And then it also showed the event mode that we would have. So it looked very obvious. Maybe we would be getting some kind of solo or duo mode for this the Christmas event that we're actually currently in right now. But we obviously know that solos was a pretty big hit. It had its problems, and a lot of people were using Pathfinder or Wraith, which was obviously not a good thing. You want it to be more spread out. You want it to be, more viable to use anyone that you want rather than just 2 legends. But duos was a massive hit. A lot of people loved duos. A
I
lot
had
of people
so
had
much
a
fun
good
with
time
duos.
with duos. And most of you guys listening right now know what I'm talking about when I say this. You always have that one friend that you just love to play with, and it's always the hardest thing to do is to find a good consistent third. A lot of you guys are struggling in diamond right now. A lot of you guys can't climb predator
You got
like
to
you
call
want
me
to
out
do.
like that.
And I remember back like when I first started Apex, when I was first starting to do tournaments and stuff, we would play tournaments and we were always using a different third and a different third and a different third, trying to find someone that we mesh with. And me and my friend Mercy, like we were just so in tune with one another, and it was so hard to find a third that automatically fit that. And so I just think the best thing to do is, sometimes it's hard for people to find a good third. Just add duos and make duos a game mode that people can love and enjoy. So I think duos will come back, but I'd like to get Lute's opinion on what maybe he's seen, maybe his response, because I know I don't speak well when it comes to game coding knowledge like Luke can. Especially maybe I just misread those game files with the solos and duos in the event pack. So maybe Luke can talk more on that.
Well, what's interesting, something that I really haven't discussed with anyone yet, not even you guys, is that later on, when I was doing more research, it turns out that every event so far was supposed to have solos and duos, but it's been disabled.
Whoa.
So I can actually give you those same exact audio files for every single event, which is strange. So what that I think leads to is maybe Apex is scared that their player base is not big enough to support solos and duos, and they've had to sort of pull that back from
Maybe.
That
the
would
the
definitely make
different
sense.
modes. Yeah, because
Well,
there's no reason they would have created these ahead of time, and now we don't have them for the actual event. They never. It's very rare they put stuff in the files that is directly talking about an event and it's not used.
yeah, that's true. And Seth, I know that I really don't want to force this topic back up, but it's always going to come up unless, with all these other subjects, solo duos, all kind of LTMs that we want. There's so many ideas you could do for good LTMs. I hate to bring up crossplay again, but if their player base is quote unquote not big enough for solos duos, I think it is. I think it's big enough. I think it's not big
70
enough.
million players. I mean,
I think it's
But that's
not
not
big
how many
enough on
active
each
players.
platform.
Yeah, that's very true.
I think, and you also got to consider Smurf accounts as well. But
Yeah.
that's not like, I don't think it's big enough on each platform. I think that's the problem. I think if they
Yeah.
like take Apex as a whole, I think it's got a huge player base to really support solos, duos, squads, LTMs, and all these other things. But
I definitely
don't know
agree
how
with that.
Do you
Crossplay
think
would
it
be
would be? Yeah, crossplay would be huge. Do you think that it would be solos that wouldn't have enough people searching, or would it go back to just, I guess, trios is a way of saying it, normal squads? What would be the mode that would struggle if Apex's player base wouldn't be able to support it? Is it solos? Is it
That's a good question. I honestly, I feel like I know, but I can't speak for 70 million people. It's kind of a hard thing to do, but I know all I know is this: a lot, probably solos was requested more. I would imagine.
It
I
was
think
definitely
solos was.
requested more, 100%.
I think
Yeah, I
solos
think
was
so.
requested more, but I think duos was accepted better because
I agree.
a lot of people that requested solos, like I'll be honest, I was not for solos or duos. I thought just keep Apex a traditional team based game, 3v3, and just keep it that way. But when solos came out, I had so much fun because I would just be able to hop into a game and just fight against people and not have to worry about what my teammates are doing or how hard it is to 1v3 a team. I would just be able to have fun and just relax.
Yeah, the
And
third
so
parties were nice.
I really did enjoy it much more, but we had everyone using Pathfinder, everyone using Wraith,
True.
and it was not balanced for sure.
Yeah, it's a game that's built on team play, different characters with different roles. So when you take that
Exactly.
all away, you just get these assassins versus each other. And some
Exactly.
people are not good enough for that.
One thing with duos though, I felt when I played duos a lot when it first came out, I absolutely loved it. But the thing I liked most about it was that you know how often in Apex you run into a third party while you're still fighting the three people or the first squad you run into. But when we had duos, I personally felt that you could take those two people out really quickly, and then it'd be like perfect time as that next or duo
Yeah.
comes up to you. That was honestly pretty nice. I would say it was a lot easier, I think, to deal with those third parties and those other squads. So I don't know. I definitely like duos, and I think duos might have a better chance as being like just actually built for Apex Legends. Going back to the fact that it is based on it's a team game, it's a team battle royale. So I think duos would probably be the best in that sense. But obviously, I don't know. It doesn't matter.
I think duos are probably a little bit. I mean, it's not like normal squads are toxic, but I feel like duos would be a little bit less toxic because it wouldn't be like two people searching up and then, teaming up on another.
What if they just added team deathmatch like we've seen a possible
Ooh.
thing coming?
Oh yeah,
Instead of
that would
adding
be-
solos
that
in
would
this
be
giant map, you just add a deathmatch.
That would be a lot of fun.
just
So
add
would you have it
Skulltown
be
just
like
back for
20v20?
team.
20?
Right, exactly. Just a skull town. I put 60 people, just 60 singles on this giant map.
I actually had an LTM. I have a page called Concepts in my Discord server, and someone posted one of the coolest ideas earlier. They said, imagine you take we go back to Kings Canyon and we are only in Skulltown and you have a 1v1v1v1 of 20 people all using Gibraltar. And I just thought how cool it was with the shields, and you would have like ultimates and stuff. It would be absolutely hectic, but it would be like a team deathmatch or like a free-for-all kind of thing. Like
That'd be
imagine just
fun.
being able to, and honestly, if you think about it, imagine like Skulltown being put around like a perimeter, like a big fence. I could see that being like almost like a Call of Duty map of just playing a free for all and just
Yeah,
like
it'd just
Yeah.
be a deathmatch.
yeah, exactly. One of those old OG shipment Rust kind of maps that you just
It'd be
kind of go down in history.
Oh yeah, and it would totally be a great way to like warm up for if you're playing ranked or anything like
Absolutely,
that. Hop into a quick
absolutely.
Skulltown team deathmatch, warm up.
Yeah,
That'd be
get your
great.
aim down, get more one-on-one gunfight engagements. That's how you improve as a player.
Yeah, so one other thing I want to talk about, and I know this wasn't on the list, and I promise to make it quick. This is something that just hit my head, and we were talking about esports and all of these other things. There were a few months ago. This has been months ago, and this is something I think absolutely needs to be in Apex for multiple reasons. But what do you guys know? What have you guys heard? What's the latest on a replay mode? Something where we can go back and watch
Oh my
old
God.
replays or VODs. I just want to know because I think this would be something that would be really big for esports. Because I was thinking about duos and like how would you know who's on what team? And imagine spectating this at a live event, and it would be really cool to see. Because a lot of times on Fortnite, you see the nameplates of everyone with each other. And I know that months ago we had leaks of talking about replay modes. I'm not sure if all this was left over. I don't really know all of Titanfall 2. I'm not sure if it was all left over, but what do we know anything about maybe kill cams, replay modes, or anything of that nature?
I agree with kill cams. I think kill cams would be really cool, and because I want to see how I died, I like that a lot. And then you also have, like you're saying, replay mode. So basically, just like theater mode from Call of Duty, being able to go back and rewatch your games.
It would
and
be
not have
great
to
for
repeat
content, just to be able to get some quick compilations in there. But
It'd
I
be
don't
really
think
cool.
there's anything leaked for it, right, Loot? Is it?
I actually just went through real quick to see if there was anything on replays. There is code on replays. I just haven't had time to look at it exactly, and most likely it is from Titanfall.
Yeah, I thought it was probably from Titanfall. I know we had some stuff come up like months ago,
Yeah, it
but
was a while
I just
back.
thought maybe, yeah, it was a long time ago. Man, I would love to see, like you said, like especially for content creation, like you could get some really cool cinematic shots and maybe make montages or something like that. And so that would
Maybe
be
once we
something
get
really
like
cool. Maybe-
custom servers or something like that, that's when
I
they would
agree.
start working
Maybe
on that.
that's probably exactly. Yeah. That's right. All right. So lastly, we're going to talk about something that you guys may have heard before, maybe not, but it doesn't matter how many. I honestly go through some of these audio files just like randomly because I love hearing legends that are in the game talk about weapons that are not in the game yet. So we're going to be talking about some audio files leaked for some new upcoming weapons that are
possible
obviously
new upcoming weapons. These have been leaked in the files for a while now,
a long time. You're right.
But I honestly haven't even heard the audio files. Most people, like, I mean, back in the old season 1, I would see just pictures of guns that were in the files, but the fact that we actually have some voice lines of Apex characters, like all of them saying these weapons, really does make me think that they're working on them. So what is the list of the currently leaked weapons that are in the files that aren't in the game right now, Loot?
So just speaking on weapons, we have a rocket launcher, EPG, Cold War, car SMG, Archer, softball, and I think the Volt.
Yeah, the Volt SMG, which is an energy as far as I know. And a lot of all of those are from Titanfall, aren't they? I'm not a huge Titanfall player though. So
I believe they are all from Titanfall, but they
They are.
are all voice lines for characters currently in Apex only. So I think, like you said, we can pretty much ascertain that they're probably coming eventually. The only thing I would caution is that we didn't see voice lines for the L Star before it came out.
Oh, that's
a
true.
good point.
So you just have to take everything with a grain of salt. It's most likely they paid someone to record these voice lines, then they're coming. It's just
when and yeah. So I mean, season 4, pretty much every season we've had so far, we've had a new weapon, and every single time it's been an energy weapon, sadly. But so we pretty much can assume that we will 100% be getting a new weapon season 4, as well as obviously a new legend and all that. So out of those lists, we have the rocket launcher, EPG, Cold War, car SMG, Archer, softball, and Volt. What do you guys think would be the weapon to come to Apex?
I think it needs to be I think it needs to be an SMG or either a grenade launcher, preferably grenade launcher. I would say EPG because I've played Titanfall 2 and the EPG is probably the most fun weapon on the list right here. Like this weapon is so fun. Like you can get some insane shots across the map. So we're going to play these audio files right now for you guys. If you guys have not heard all of these weapons that we just talked about, the rocket launcher, EPG, Cold War, car SMG, Archer, softball, and the Volt SMG, we're going to play them for you right now so you can go ahead and hear them now.
Archer here. Car SMG here. Car SMG here. Softball here. Volt SMG here.
Cold War here. EPG here. Rocket launcher here. Rocket launcher here.
All right, so those were the audio files for the weapons, and pretty exciting to hear, especially a legend that you know is in Apex now, talking about a weapon that will be coming most likely in the future. That's pretty exciting news. Just kind of makes you feel like you're living in the future. Just going to be able to see these eventually. So that's going to be really exciting. I think personally, I'm going to go with the EPG. Only because we saw that firing range picture not long ago of they're showing 6, I think it was
energy
5 or
weapons.
6
It was
energy
6.
weapons.
Yep.
Yeah, it was 6 energy weapons. And obviously, if you guys have not shot the EPG yet, if it's not energy, it's something it's like something to do with an energy type. I don't think the L Star is considered energy. It's actually like some kind of like plasma.
Well, L-Star is technically a legendary weapon, so it doesn't use energy ammo.
Right,
But I personally would think of it as an energy weapon. I mean, the closest thing we could have to it, unless you want to put it in a whole new category. But I see, like you mentioned earlier, you kind of want to see a new SMG, which I definitely would not be mad at, which is why I kind of speculate there's a chance they might have the Volt SMG, which is an energy weapon, added in Season 4. I definitely would not be mad at that at all, because like, I mean, right now what do we have? We have the Devotion, the Havoc, the Triple Take, the Charge Rifle, and the what am I missing? I feel stupid right now. L-Star, the L-Star.
Okay.
Yeah, so we don't really have an energy SMG at all right now, which definitely would be cool, since we have, like, with heavy and light, we have each category, a weapon in that category. So I think maybe they might want to fill that void for the energy weapons with an SMG, since we don't already have one of those.
Yeah, and having more alternatives to just the R99 as the number one gun,
Yeah.
I think is going to
Exactly.
benefit the game so much, because it all comes down to the R99 and they need something else.
Yeah, I
I
definitely would
agree.
agree with that one. And honestly, I'm just saying this. I don't even know if there's a weapon like this in the files, which there isn't. I mean, based on the list that we have right here, but just something that's kind of fun. I personally would love like an energy pistol. That might be a little OP, but I think that'd be pretty cool, since I'm getting a little tired of using that wingman. But you know, that's just something that probably won't ever come, but would be pretty cool.
I think Apex is probably even paying attention to the KD ratio. They look at the KDs with all the weapons, and they probably see the R99 being pretty high up there because how powerful it is and how powerful the rate of fire is. I think that is probably going to push them to put out new weapons and change them.
As long as we don't have people complaining like we do with the Disruptor. You know, anything to something
That's
anytime
big.
something stronger comes out than the R99, you're going to get people who just complain because they don't want change. Like,
That's true.
Hey, I'll probably be one of the ones complaining too.
Might as well
As
say
much-
it now.
As much as I obviously was against and am still against the disruptors for the alternator, because of it just does way too much damage on people who have shields. I did like the one positive from it I can say is at least it made it to where I did not have to have the R99. And if I was unlucky in the game with RNG and all I could find was an alternator, at least I could still be put in a place where I could win the game. And that's one thing that I did like about the disruptors. And so that's another thing I think would be good for adding all these new weapons, because it gives more options. It gives you a better chance to get a usable weapon that will help you to win the game. And if you guys ever played PUBG, which I know pretty much, I think most of you guys have, if you guys played PUBG, there were multiple weapons that you could go pick up and actually use. Like, it's been a long time since I played, but my favorite was the M4, but people could use the M16. You could use the AK. There were snipers. Like, there were multiple. Like, if you have someone in an Apex Predator lobby running around with a Hemlock, like, it's not that great of a gun. And so there's not as many options other than the main weapons that we talked about, like the Flatline Devotion, the R99, the Wingman, and really, I can't think of much. Like, Peacekeeper, Mastiff, Kraber, obviously the legendary weapons, but there's only a few select weapons, and I just think that they need to add these weapons maybe a little quicker, just because it would give people more options instead of being stuck at the end game with just an alternator.
More in game weapons.
Exactly. But that's going to be it for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy this SquadCast episode 3 of the podcast, make sure to leave it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel to see more podcasts, and let us know down in the comments what weapon you're most excited for and what weapon you think is going to be coming next in season 4. We really appreciate you guys watching these episodes. We hope you all have a great night.
Yes, sir. All right, we out.
Audio.
Yep.